Strength and honor.
Strength and honor.
Strength and honor.
At my signal, unleash hell.
What is up, you guys? Happy Tuesday. Let's get some dubs in the chat if you're alive and if you didn't sell. Let's go. Looks like we got some people hopping in. I don't know how to check the comments on X, but I'm streaming there as well. Let's see some dubs, guys. Throw it up. Let me just make sure this is working real quick. Let's go. Let's go. All right, guys. Well, while we wait for some people to hop in, obviously been a crazy couple days in our community. First thing I would encourage everyone to do is just like zoom out and just like remember why we're in Hex. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I have a 15-year plan, right? Like, what happens on a single day in a single week, I'm like pretty unaffected. Now, granted, with everything that happened, I, as along with many people, had an initial, emotional reaction to it, which I think was valid. I mean, honestly, no one likes to see value in their portfolio get yoinked. Not a good feeling, and it sucks. But we're gonna get through it, and that's what I'm here to talk about. I mean, definitely gonna dive into everything that happened and kind of address my thoughts on it. I've taken, the past 2 days to kind of think through everything and think back on just kind of this dual chain ecosystem we have now, and kind of want to put forth like some things that I've said in the past, but just want to like bring up again. And I think that, if people can understand what I was trying to say before, a lot of this would have been avoided. A lot of the things we're seeing that people are mad about and just kind of the impact that it's had, I kind of beforehand laid out why, we should support eHex. And, but at the end of the day, like, I understand where Richard Hart is coming from. I think his heart's there. I just think that was kind of poorly executed on his part. And I think everyone, regardless of where you are on this whole situation, is like, that probably just wasn't the best way to execute what he was trying to say. And it had impact, as verified by the chart that we can all see. But I still love Richard Hart. I'm a huge supporter. I'm very grateful for all that he's done. With the expansion of the ecosystem and building Hex in general. Like, what an amazing product that has allowed a lot of us to kind of change our perspective on our financial situations. For me, like, where I was at in financially, I was like, working a job. I had a 401k, but truly, like, I just did not have something set where I was like confident that I'm going to elevate out of a financial status that I was kind of stuck in. And Hex kind of broke that for me and allowed me to like actually build a financial plan for the future in a way that was exciting to me and that I like to tell other people about. And obviously, everything's kind of changed with the introduction of Pulse Chain, and we have other assets now, and we just have to be willing to maintain what made us great, but also evolve into what we need to be, right? And it's not an easy thing. This has been something that's been ongoing for a year now. So with the whole eHex, PHEX thing, I think one observation just right off the bat is that you're not going to find any eHex maxis. No one is out there professing eHex over PHEX, right? Like, genuinely, I think that most people, most people are staked and were staked, during the launch of Pulse Chain, and it's more so just like let it live, let it be its own thing. There's no reason, like, of all things to like go after and try to like kill. EHEX is like, why would you go after EHEX? Like, that only hurts our community. And I think we're seeing that. So I'll go ahead and I pulled some screenshots. Let me just go ahead and pull this up, and I'll kind of walk through. First, kind of talking about my initial case for EHEX. This was back in like September. I'm going to add this. Okay, so first, actually, let's talk about the first time that Richard Hart spoke on this, and this was back in June 8th of last year, pretty close to after Pulse Chain launched. Kind of had stated how Hex on Pulse Chain was gaining on Ethereum, and people kind of took that as him stating that the market has chosen, right? That, and we saw the impact that had in the market. I think there was like a 30% drop on the day, and then over time, it definitely took a dip, a pretty strong dip. And then after that, like, no one really. I mean, there were a few people talking about it and stuff, but overall, like, it kind of just found its bottom, and it was just chugging along. And this, by the way, this is the EHEX PHEX chart, priced in Hex. So this is like the relationship between the two. And so around this time, like, this was like around September, I thought it was important to kind of put out why I thought that EHEX is worth our support. It's worthy of supporting. So I just want to walk through these because I think these are really important, and I want like everyone to understand. So first thing to note that I say in here is that I'm not a believer in the parity narrative. I never was. They are separate assets that will live their own lives, and that I was never in that camp, and I actually challenged the people that were like trying to push that narrative. So I did state that, and I've stated that many times. But so first reason, almost all hexagons still hold EHEX and are still staked for an average stake length of 7.1 years. It performs well, more money in the hands of our community that could be used to buy other RH assets. So yeah, and I think we're kind of seeing that is still true with how people reacted to EHEX tanking. EHEX is heavily bonded to PHEX. Hart's law, if EHEX price goes down, it will pull PHEX and the rest of RH ecosystem down with it. We saw that happen pretty much instantly after EHEX tanked. PHEX was also dipping as well. If EHEX performs badly, haters will always point to it as Hex, regardless of how well PHEX performs, or if we try to disregard it and claim PHEX is the only Hex. We've seen that all over X recently. We saw Gary Cardone tweet at pretty much all of our haters are using the EHEX chart now to talk bad about Hex. So as much as we want to claim that PHEX is the new Hex, it's the only Hex, everyone is looking at the Ethereum chart and will use it against us. We want it to do well for that. Like, that's just one of the many reasons we want to do well. Many still point to gas fees as an inhibitor of staking Hex on Ethereum, but the gas fee problem has been solved with Maximus trustless Hex stake pools. Again, I understand where Richard Hart is coming from with wanting to promote Pulse Chain Hex because he wants, the most volume, the most activity on Pulse Chain. But the reality is that the Maximus stake pools do exist, and they do solve gas fees. And Richard Hart is aware of it. He's mentioned it before. So being on Ethereum, EHEX is exposed to network effects of Ethereum, as well as Ethereum whales who might not want to bridge to Pulse Chain. EHEX price benefits from this, more capital injected into our economy. We saw this when Ethereum itself was running. EHEX was pumping while other coins weren't. And so again, this just, our community's exposure to that network effect on Ethereum is huge, and we benefit from it. So we shouldn't try to hinder that. The RH ecosystem is not a single asset ecosystem anymore. There are now 5 RH assets at the core of our asset network, and eHex is one of them. We must evolve our paradigm, remove the scarcity delusion of buy pressure dilution, and adapt to the new era if we want to win. So this kind of goes to something I'm seeing a lot of people talk about this this dilution of buy pressure. And if like that was truly the case, then why was the solution for Hex to solve Hex gas fees to introduce 3 new coins? That's just, it doesn't make any sense to keep saying that. And it's like, I don't know. That one really bothers me because it's like the solution that we're talking about diluted and also introduce everything new on Pulse Chain as well. So we have to evolve from that. It's just kind of a dumb argument. So those were kind of some main points that I laid out. I think this was around September. Later on, I kind of harped on another value aspect of eHex, which is the fact that it pumps the Pulse Chain bridge. I've always advocated for coins that can go up, especially before the bull market, and eHex is one of them. So I tweeted, I harped on this multiple times, but there were times when eHex was responsible for like 50% value increase of the Pulse Chain bridge over and over. And so, you know, March 7th, we hit a new all-time high of 180 million, and that got wiped. 32 million from the Pulse Chain bridge value got wiped because eHex plummeted. So it's just kind of like one of those things. You know, even if you don't care about Hex, realize the value that it provides to Pulse Chain. So those are kind of the points. Again, you know, Richard Hart has had impact on the chart before, and you know, we kind of found a bottom and it was just chugging along, and then it actually pumped up to 0.92, so almost 1-to-1 with Pulse Chain Hex at one point. It pumped, and then it obviously dwindled back down, and now, you know, before the dump it was 0.59. So the thing I don't understand, and why I think most of the people that hate on eHex, is because they dumped. I mean, there's no other reason why they would, because it's like, why would you want, like, even if, I mean, even now with it being 0.26, if you have Hex stakes, why would you want, if you have Hex stakes on Ethereum, why would you want the price of eHex to plummet and have less value when that stake ends? Why would you not want the copy and the original to be the highest value possible when the stake ends? So I like that. Really, I don't know, that one really doesn't make any sense to me. And so for me, it's like, again, back to what I was saying originally, it's like, no one is an eHex maxi. There are definitely pHex maxis now, for sure, but there's no eHex maxi. Basically, I think most people that aren't happy right now just want it to be left alone. Like, just let it do its thing. It doesn't, like, in order to promote pHex and to promote Pulse Chain, you don't need to attack eHex. There's no reason to do that. Just let it run its course and let it have its value, whatever it was going to be. The market had kind of decided its value up until right at this point, until, you know, Richard Hart's tweet that didn't go well. And so this is the tweet that kind of set everything off. I mean, I'm sure you guys have all read it, but basically Richard Hart started with Hex is much better than eHex. Now, the thing about this tweet, and I can understand some people saying, you know, they read it and they didn't think it was that bad. I think there was definitely some, like, it's a combination of like sharing truth, but also kind of like mixing in some like FOMO regret about not picking the right hex and you kind of chose wrong. Like this paragraph down here where he's like, I've told you this before, but likely some of you didn't listen so well. I'm telling you again, hex is the hex on pulse chain. The only part that sucks about saying this, is that while I told you that you should be very careful about selling one chain for the other, because if you choose wrong, the market will punish you. Probably some people chose wrong. So this isn't like this is obviously a very biased statement, and the impact speaks for itself. People can have their emotional reactions, but like when you look at a chart and it was like because of this, it's like you just kind of have to accept it. And again, I think it was like, I understand where Richard Hart's coming from. I just don't think it was executed that well. And it is what it is. And already, I mean, we're already kind of seeing a rebound. We'll see, we'll see where we end up. I don't know. I really don't know. Again, I think Richard Hart is probably going to see this stream. So if you're watching this, like all the people that hold EHEX, all we're asking is just to like let it be. You don't need to like keep attacking, because this is now the second time. The first one got probably just as much emotional reaction out of people. This one definitely was way more emotional for sure, and definitely just a much stronger impact because it was a little more pointed than this one. This one was more of an observation, still had impact. This one was definitely like, I'm choosing. And it's like, just let it be. That's kind of my thing. It's like, I don't see anyone telling new people to solo stake on Ethereum. And it's like, if people out in the Ethereum world see Hex and they want to buy it, then let them buy it. It's like, let it have its own life. It doesn't need to be in competition with Hex. Because if that's the case, if we're stating it like that, then it's like, why is this Hex a competition, but yet, the other ecosystem assets like PulseX, Pulse, and Ink, those can live together, but EHEX, no. EHEX is out. And it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And it really only punishes our community. It's not helping anybody. It just hurt our own community, which I think is a bummer. So those were kind of my thoughts that I took screenshots for. Let me pull up, if you guys have any if you guys have anything you want me to address, feel free to drop questions. I'm going to go back through. So I'm going to start from the bottom because it's hard to like figure out where to best start. Dipcatch said, it's not EHEX holders who aren't adopting Pulse Chain. It's the other coins who aren't adopting it. That's true. The market decided almost the moment Pulse Chain launched and stayed that way for 10 months, but influencers kept saying wrong stuff. So RH had to lay the smack down. I don't know what chart you're looking at, because again, it's like the market had defined its value. It obviously fluctuated and it got up to 0.92%. I mean, 0.92 hex, but there was never a definitive, like, there's no market here for EHEX. That's just simply not true. When you look at the chart, it kind of decided that it was less valuable, but again, it's like, okay, that's fine. It doesn't need to be one-to-one. I think that maybe stems from like some parity narrative around like that people were trying to push early on that like makes people compare its value, but it's like, so what if it's a little less valuable? It doesn't need to be one-to-one for it to be a valid coin. We are better united. 100% agree. And I think once again, we're going to get through this, and the people that are going to get shaken out are going to get shaken out. But like this community, of all communities to bet against, like this community has been through so much shit together. And, whether it was like early days of Hex, making it through this last bear market, waiting on Pulse Chain, the SEC FUD, it's like the people who are here now and are not shaken out, like they're not going anywhere. We're here for 15 years and we have to figure out how to work together to bring energy and focus back on what we're doing. Let's see. Thank you, Art. The point is, Ari shouldn't have said anything. If he was correct, which he is, the market would have done it naturally. Yeah, and I mean, one of the things I'm thinking about too is like it was so random. Like it really came out of nowhere. That I don't know. Maybe there was intended to be some shock value. But again, it was really out of nowhere. And I don't know. I think just based off of how Richard Hart has kind of gone into defensive mode, and I think he kind of realizes that what probably wasn't the best move, and hopefully he kind of learns from that. But it was kind of weird and out of nowhere. But I like what Adam Stokes said. Only the markets will decide what happens to EHEX, not a tweet by RH. Let the market do its thing. And before the tweet, it was, and it had kind of decided on the market had over, the months since Pulse Chain had launched, the market had kind of defined what its value was. And it wasn't 1-to-1, which is fine. But the tweet definitely threw the market for sure. I said, just leave EHEX alone. I mean, I think that's honestly the move. I don't know why. The crazy thing too is like I'm seeing people talk about EHEX who haven't spoke about Hex since Pulse Chain launched. Like, no, these people that like want to pick up arms against EHEX have not even been teaching people about Hex at all. So it's like, I don't know. It's interesting to see a lot of people's opinions popping up who haven't been doing any work for Hex for a year. Suggesting new investors to Hex get EHEX only and stake it was a huge mistake and disservice. Suggesting new investors to Hex get EHEX only. I mean, I've never seen a single person should suggest to get EHEX only and stake it. I really don't know where that would ever come from. All right, shit on the hard work that Alex from Hedron and Icosa to by that tweet. It killed Hedron and Icosa. Yeah, I mean, I definitely saw Alex's tweet, and I think his plan did kind of rely on the cross chain, the dual chain Hex. So I think he definitely had to like rethink what he was going to do, which is unfortunate. I think what Alex was going to build was going to be really cool. But I'm sure what he's going to build is going to be awesome. Totally responsible of Hex. Ari should tweet what he did. He should have left it organically follow PHEX. I agree. What if EOA used SAC funds to good account all EHEX stakes? I mean, honestly, I have no expectation. Like when people say no expectations, you should have no expectations from the OA. Like they haven't done anything since, I don't know, maybe around Big Payday. I put out a tweet that was like the Ethereum OA should burn their Hex, but I mean that was like that's not going to happen. So yeah, Arish is right, but as a leader, he shouldn't be saying things like that. And I don't even own a single EHEX, never have. Yeah, I agree. I think one of my favorite quotes is from Spider-Man. It's like with great power comes great responsibility. And I don't, I don't think Richard Hart's intention was to wreck the chart like that. I think, he wants the benefit of pulse chain to be known. But I do think you can do that without, without wrecking a chart. Let me see if I should. All right, I'm going to drop down to the bottom. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, so Dipker said the market doesn't just decide something, then it's done. It's a constant state of deciding the value in that moment. Absolutely. I think that's a really important thought. And, a lot of people have said it, but EHEX is not going away. It's going to have its own life, and things like what happened this weekend, you know, have impact, and there's going to be a lot more things down the future. It's like, you got to kind of, if you're new to crypto, you have to realize that it is not boring. There's always something new that happens and shakes everything up. And it's important to keep your head on straight. And one thing I recommend to everyone I talk to about crypto is to learn and study stoicism. There's a few books. If you're actually interested, reach out to me and I'd be happy to send it to you. But it's something I'm constantly working on, and crypto is like the ultimate test of stoicism and being able to control your emotions through it all. But yeah, things like what happened this weekend really test your hands. But I never for a second was going to sell my Hex. It's just like I knew how that was going to impact the market, and it did. And we just got to move through it and get back to the grind. Your thoughts on all this are accurate. Much of the community, including myself, share your perspectives. Yeah, I'm glad. It's like, I think it's good to get things out and to talk about them. I debated on trying to just move on but it's like, it is definitely a lingering thing, and it's a big thing. And it's like, we got to figure out, we got to talk about it, we got to figure it out to move forward. And so that's kind of why I came out of streamer retirement to hop back on. Pulse Chain has effectively not added any new users since launch. I disagree. I think, you look at active wallets, we've been on the rise ever since launch. As far as Hex goes, Hex was always going to take a hit with the launch of Pulse Chain because of new RH shiny things, right? It's hard, it's hard to maintain the same momentum with the introduction of new things, but that doesn't mean Hex is dead by any means. It just means that, if you like Hex, if you care about it, then you have to actively promote it. And I think we've kind of all fallen away from how active we were early on with Hex. Rarely do people really stream about T-shares or tweet about T-shares. So I think if we want new users, we have to work for them. It's not just like sit on our heels and just expect everyone to want to hop in. How's the projected Hex APR for EHEX versus PHEX? I've always expected EHEX to have higher yield due to the gas difference. Yeah, and that's one thing I don't think a lot of people understand with Hex is the whole gas fee issue, as well as the migration of people that cancel their stakes, and that's actually bullish for EHEX. And I'm not trying to like hard shell ehex here. I'm not an ehex maxi. I'm just speaking reality of how the T-share system works. When there's less T-shares or when people can't end their stakes, that definitely positively impacts the yield for people who can end their stakes. So, it's kind of extremely bullish for yield for stake pools, realistically. Just leave it alone. That was all he had to do. That day I saw my portfolio go to shit. FYI, I bought the top hex and kept buying both. I never expected RH to try to kill ehex. Yeah, it's I kind of thought that like RH had kind of come to understand its value because again, like I pointed out, he hadn't really made a statement like that since close to the launch of Pulse Chain. I occasionally would see people tweet about, you know, like negatively about ehex, and that kind of spurred me to write out what I shared on this stream about why, you know, we should have a little respect for ehex and its place in this ecosystem. But RH has kind of been out of that until now. So it's like, I don't know what kind of triggered that, but hopefully it kind of recognizes that like the community doesn't want ehex to die because we're all staked and we're happy to just let it ride. No one's hard promoting ehex again, ehex over pulse chain hex. It's just like there's no reason to try to kill it, you know. Do we gain TVL on hex, or do we gain TVL with hex on ETH? We need all movement on pulse. Do we gain TVL with yes, actually Pulse Chain does gain TVL when hex on ETH moves, because there's a significant amount of hex bridged to Pulse Chain. So Wild SJ got here late, but I disagree. RH is right. We need to be changing the narrative and getting Pulse Chain at the forefront. I mean, I don't know how much more you want Pulse Chain to be at the forefront. First off, like Hex hasn't been at the forefront at all. I'm like kind of thankful that this is all happening because for once, like people are talking about Hex again, and I've been trying to get people to talk about Hex for a while. But Pulse, like pretty much all the attention from our whole community has been promoting Pulse Chain. And I don't think trying to, again, hurt ehex helps that cause at all. If anything, it just like makes people in our community mad, and they lose value. That's not the point. He is right, but in his position, he shouldn't be saying stuff like that. You can now say in the future he will never say anything bad about Pulse. RH tried to make BankX guys rage quit, baller move, decrease their bag by twofold, saying who is the boss, so they would agree to OTC or put their V3 sell wall lower. Let's see what happens. I mean, this is one of those things, again, like such a weird spun up narrative that has no proof. People are just like making statements about BankX. Like, okay, he hurt BankX, but he also hurt the rest of the community along with it. Was that his intention? Like, kind of the same spun up narrative about, oh, he's just shaking. It's a 4D chess move. He's just shaking out the weak hands. I think we're all tired of the shakeouts. Seriously, like we've had enough shakeouts of the weak hands. Now it's like, now you're just like hurting the community. It doesn't, like, these narratives don't serve a purpose and they're not valid. I don't see how Pulse Chain doesn't eventually have the same issues that ETH has now. If we don't have those issues, we won't be as successful as Ethereum, in my opinion. That's true. You know, Dibcatcher, if you guys don't follow him, he's been tweeting out a lot about how Ethereum gas fees actually work. Definitely go read up on that. But it is true. I mean, if Pulse Chain is a massive success, and there's no gas fee solutions, which RH himself has stated multiple times that he doesn't think they're going to solve it. So, um, it's like, I hope they do. I really do. And if they do solve it, then it's like, okay, then what is this narrative that we've been spinning up and making people sell their hex bags, their hex stakes that would have been fine to end in the future. So yeah, I mean, it is the reality. It's the same chain, and so if there's not an update and we're successful, it would be a problem for us as well. RH should be allowed to share what he'd like about his coins. People need to learn to stop the emotional sells. I agree. I mean, I think people need to stop being emotional and reactive, but I think it goes both ways. I think there is a level of accountability on his end about how he presents things he says, as well as on the community side, not being overly reactive to everything he says. Let's like and sub. Thank you so much. Yeah, feel free to drop a like, hit the sub if you're not following. Let's see. You realize there are people that are not on X that saw the dip and bought eHex, right? Yeah, and I'm sure there were a lot of people that also saw the dip and sold as well, thinking that there was something maybe far worse with Hex than what actually happened. Let's see. So the only issue was essentially gas fees. So he nukes eHex shortly before ETH maybe fixing gas fees, whilst also buying himself a heap of ETH. That was kind of something very interesting about this whole thing, is that we've all been observing the sacrifice address load up on like $800 million of ETH. So they're more than willing to use the chain, and also yield farming with Maker. So it's like that was kind of interesting. I don't think went over well with the community. And the timing was kind of strange with the ETH upgrade for tomorrow, which I don't think, as I've looked into it, I don't think it's going to really fix gas fees, for most people. But it's kind of like if Ethereum can execute on their strategy with L2s and kind of remove load off mainnet, might have impact. But yeah, we'll definitely have to see. Excuse me. I'm not surprised RH said what he said. A lot of OG Hexagon streamers were pushing eHex, and the whole reason Pulse Chain was launched because of the ridiculously high ETH fees back in 2021. I haven't seen people pushing eHex. If you want to drop who is doing that, I'd be curious. But I have not seen any. No one's even talking about Hex. Has been talking about Hex for like months. So to say like people are pushing eHex hard, like I didn't see it at all. So is it not just a way to get everyone to start talking about Hex? I mean, that's probably the only positive that has come out of this. Like, a lot of people are talking about Hex. It definitely got, I think it even got a news article about the price dump. So, outrage marketing again. Woohoo. But yeah, I mean, probably the only positive to come out. RH is conscious enough to ensure we know, but it does not mean he meant for us to sell or yes. Yeah. Again, I don't think it was his intention, but it just kind of was how it played out. If he wants to be gun, he should dump all his eHex to zero and let people play with it who want it. Yeah, I mean, again, I have no expectations of the OA dumping or doing anything, but that would be fun. YouTubers were bringing up eHex more than Pulse Hex for months and months. Did my head in and told those speaking the truth to stop talking. Again, didn't see it, but would be happy to be proven wrong with who is talking about eHex more than Pulse and Hex for months. OA good accounting doesn't save gas fees for end staker, repeats the full end staker calculation when ended. Yep. I agree with not handing millions in fees to ETH validators. ETH needs to concentrate on fixing fee issues and stop ignoring the fact that it does have an issue. I mean, I think Ethereum is fully aware of their gas problem. But it's not like an easy fix. So I mean, the upgrade tomorrow is kind of one of those first steps. But yeah, I mean, I think they're fully aware of it, and the pressure's kind of on them to fix it. So, but the truth is, like, yeah, gas fees are high, but yet people are willing to pay. Like, yeah, it sucks, but the opportunity is obviously there enough for people to want to still use the chain. And so it's like, let them, if they want to pay that high of gas fees, let them do it. And hope that gas fees get solved for smaller players. And again, it's like, I am a big advocate for Pulse Chain. Like, it does allow for cheaper transactions. And I think the idea of bridging assets, I've talked about this before, but utilizing Pulse Chain as a transaction layer, like bridge assets over transact and transact on Pulse Chain. Something cool with the Maximus stake pools, millions of pool tokens have been bridged over from Ethereum, and people are transacting with them. So it's like, that's a really cool use case for Pulse Chain to be a transaction layer for assets that don't want to pay Ethereum gas fees just to swap. I think that's a good use case that we should lean into. A lot of OG Hexans are looking out for number one and not helping the newcomers in the Hex token. I mean, again, I don't think that's true at all. Like, most people talking about Hex staking, if they're going to talk about it on Pulse Chain. Let's see. The Can You Imagine Pulse EX? No, it's all tweet from. Oh, let's see. The Can You Imagine Pulse EHEX and PHEX being in position 1, 2, and 3 on Nomics? Old tweet from RH confuses me. I feel like Richard's opinion on the two assets being able to coexist changed recently. I agree. Especially going into Pulse Chain, like, I don't know. It's hard to tell now that, like, Pulse Chain is coming up on a year old. Like, who was here before Pulse Chain launched versus like who's joined more recently. But the whole narrative at some point switched where people went from, yeah, you get a free copy of your Hex stakes. And it's going to be this dual chain. Even the narrative around, like, go to the PulseX website and look at what it talks about. One of the main value props of the DEX is it's to bridge your Ethereum assets over and to make your PHEX copies more valuable. So it's like we want to spin up this narrative for other communities to have this this coexistence of having having assets on both. But then when it comes to Hex, it's like, the minute Pulse Chain launched, a few people, and we all know who the few people were who definitely dumped and started just flooding out of the gate. But it's like, where did it change, and why did it change? Because it was like, everyone, to me, when I heard copy of my stakes on Pulse Chain, I never once thought that meant like a migration or like a moving and just like killing our old stakes. That just never, like, to me, it was like almost like a stock split, and the combined value is awesome. And I like, whatever, I knew Hex on Ethereum might not be as valuable, but I was like fine with it. I would just kind of like let my stakes ride. and the value that, you know, they are when my end stake comes, like, that's awesome. But for some reason that switched, and a few people decided to get very loud and wanted to just like, no, we're only Hex on Pulse Chain now. It's like, I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know where that switched. It really doesn't make sense to me. And that tweet from RH kind of proves that it wasn't always like, this is the new Hex now, this is the only Hex now narrative. That, you know, most people thought we were going to coexist and have Hex stakes on both chains. I get the point. I lost half my eHex value also, but I've been migrating over to Pulse Chain with new Hex stakes. I had to pay 3,600 ETH in stake gas fees back in 2021. And that's good, man. Like, all power to you for moving forward to be staking on Pulse Chain. I think that is a great move. It's cheaper. You know, there's like no problem with you know, future stakes being on Pulse Chain. I think that's a great move. You know, but as far as like your past stakes, I don't know anyone in their right mind who would want to just like destroy them for no reason. Sorry guys if there's a lot of new comments. I'm like working through them. Unique users for Pulse has gone up, and I don't have the numbers here, but it was a miracle when I seen them a month or so ago. Yeah, I mean, like, it's been very consistent. I would say there's probably been an average of maybe 13 to 15K active users of Pulse Chain, and the total, you know, cumulative active users are closing in. I want to say like 100. I like 100 million. I want to say. So I mean, the growth's there for sure. Tons of people have 555 eHex stakes, and I do myself. Just hope ETH fixes the fees, but I think RH had to say something like a strong statement to rip the Band-Aid off. Again, I don't think he had to say it like that. I think almost everyone can agree that even the people that like fully support what he said agree that he could have said it better or in a different way. Like, I haven't seen anybody that's like very happy with how that went down. RH was also asked directly by Abit at a conference whether PHEX should be seen as a migration away from eHex, and he said no. So I think he wanted coexistence, but then changed his mind. Yeah, and I'm curious. You know, would be awesome to get a RH stream. We haven't gotten one of those in a while, but that's one of those things like none of us know how RH is thinking, or you know, and it's been a long time now. So he definitely changes his mind on things, but you know, it would be helpful to understand why at some point he wanted to. At this point in the cycle, the statement had to be ended to move forward with power. If you're a long-term player and a buyer, this is a gift. ETH will be forced to fix their fees eventually. Yep. I think that's a very powerful, you know, mindset to have is, you know, things like this, when something happens and price tanks, if you actually believe in the asset, it's buy opportunity for sure. And yeah, so I mean, if you believe that ETH fees will get fixed, probably not the best idea to EES your Hex stakes, but you know, more yield for me, I guess. Hex has been a nightmare, still down 99% after all this time, while Bitcoin is over all-time high. Completely missed this bull run. That's bullshit. There's also a chance that something significant changed legally recently. He recently tweeted about his humble phase ending. Maybe he wanted to do this tweet earlier, but couldn't. Yeah, I mean, I have been observing the same thing. I don't think the sacrifice address moves wouldn't have happened if there wasn't some at least confidence in winning the case. But the humble phase ending thing was kind of interesting to me because it's like he kind of framed it as if you're either going to get nothing from me, you're not going to get any streams or anything, or you're going to get, cocky Richard Hart back. And it's like, can we find some middle ground there? Like, what about just doing the streams you used to do with black shirt, black head, t-shirt, like we all loved that Richard Hart, brought a ton of value. And I think we would all love that Richard Hart back for sure. RH doesn't give a crap about any influencers' criticism over this, and neither do I. Influencers acting like they've done more crypto than RH. I don't think that's the case. Like, Richard Hart definitely went into kind of a defensive mode, and kind of doubled down on what he was saying. I think he definitely kind of felt the heat, not just from outside of our community, but definitely from inside our community. I think a lot of people were unhappy, and it wasn't just influencers. It was like everyday people that, have hex stakes on Ethereum, watched 80% of the value just disappear. So, I don't think it's just influencers criticism. I think it was kind of across the board from a lot of people. I caught that vibe. I started clipping good RH interview bits, but even Pulse Chain Telegram itself is hesitant to let them stay up. They thought it was spam, but I was trying to promote who he really is. Yeah, and RH is a good guy. He really is, but he's not a god, and he's not perfect. He makes mistakes. And while I don't think he'll ever like own up to a mistake necessarily, I think he adjusts and he learns from it. BankX is peanuts compared to other large sellers who have been active for years. RH has had a 2.6 million eHex sell wall in a V3 liquidity pool since 2022. Very interesting. I think a lot of people forgot about that. I'll keep chipping away. They thought I was reposting the same clip, I think. High fees aren't a problem to solve. It's simple. It's supply of blocks and demand of blocks. Yep. Emotion comes from perspective. If our perspective comes from a place of not of understanding, our emotions won't match the scene. Yeah, that's good. I like that. Richard Hart lost my trust. All the long stakes I did on ETH after Pulse Chain launch are wrecked. Yeah, and that's unfortunate, but I would definitely say, I do have confidence in eHex to make a recovery. I don't know how much of a recovery, but people have already been buying the dip, and I think it's going to be fine. Obviously don't know how long out your stakes are, but I do wish for Hex on Ethereum to recover and be worth value for you. I really do. Imagine EESing, paying penalties and gas fees to burn a 50% top to end up 40% down. Yeah, I think that's really unfortunate for a lot of people that got shaken out and did a rash move trying to move over. But that really didn't work out well. Excessive contrarianism and gambling on EHEX, very dangerous game. I mean, gambling on EHEX, very dangerous game. Like, I don't really know what you mean by gambling on EHEX. Like, if you believe it's going to go up in value long term, I mean, that could be said for all crypto. The truth hurts sometimes. A lot of emotion tied up in EHEX, but what he said shouldn't have been a shocker to anyone. Super common sense stuff and things that he previously alluded to. I would say not real. I mean, again, he hadn't mentioned EHEX versus PHEX since like June of last year. He's obviously been a huge proponent of Pulse Chain and saving gas fees, which I think is awesome. But you know, the shocker, like it was like a combination of like when you read the tweet, I think people I had my own, like I first read it and I had my own emotional reaction to it. But I think just the reaction in the market really made people mad. And that's just the reality of what happened. Like the tweet had a very negative impact on a chart that people own, you know, that people had ownership of that crypto, and so they're not going to be happy with it. So I don't think it was necessarily like emotions tied to, I mean, it's like everyone with what crypto, they don't want to like see their crypto that they hold or is staked like crash like that. It's not a good feeling for sure. I look at all crypto tokens as memes. I'm not emotionally attached. They either work as advised or not. I think that's a good play. Yeah, I think that's a good play. Emotions, like, it's hard. A lot of people have a very hard time removing their emotions from what they hold. I think Hex is like uniquely difficult because a lot of people are in Hex. Like I had mentioned, like very early in the stream, like when I got into Hex, I looked at it as a retirement plan. Like I'm thinking 15 years in the future. So it's like when you tie your future to it, it's like there is, naturally some emotions that get tied to it. And I think a lot of people in Hex do utilize stakes that way. But again, it's like short term, like you've got to build a resiliency to markets if you want, if you want to make it. Short-term pain, long-term gain. It's all how you play your hand. I think EHEX will recover with a vengeance when ETH fixes itself. Yeah, that's really well said. Yeah, that's the crux of the issue. Trust. I have none going forward. These OA bags don't like so nice. Wait. That's the crux of the issue. Trust. I have none going forward. Those OA bags don't like so nice anymore. Yeah. Yeah, I do think that that's an unfortunate, reaction to what happened. But I think it's important to look at how benevolent those addresses have acted in not selling. And that can, a lot of projects out there, you cannot say the same thing, including Ethereum and a lot of other big projects. So it's important to definitely look at the track record and realize that they haven't sold. So he always said, why would you keep it? That's why I built Pulse Chain. I'm assuming you're talking about Richard Hart, but he waited for a majority of stakes to complete before pulling, like he said he might. Not sure what you're talking about. I was over the moon when RH made that tweet. Awesome. Let's see. Then you are a religious zealot. There's no reason he won't do it. Another RH coin that you currently hold. Yeah, I mean, again, I think, I don't know. It's like, it's definitely, RH definitely has impact on markets. And overall, I think he's had positive impact on his coins. This is just a case of the negative side. But, again, I do have faith in Richard Hart. I have 2 stakes a year laddered out from now, or from another 11 years on ETH, and I'll probably pay the stupid high gas fees if it's in profit. Yeah, that's really what it comes down to. Minimum viable stakes are real. Yeah, and I think, hopefully in 11 years, ETH figures it out. I think like the chances of ETH fixing ETH gas fees by that time is higher than otherwise. But yeah, it's really simple. Rich people pay extra to go places where we can't, or where we aren't allowed or can't afford. That's why it seems like all the trolls are in Pulse Chain, because they are. I'm chilling. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, if you kept a level head, like this is just kind of another test of your wherewithal. So if you could keep a level head through it all, that's awesome. He said he expected BHEX to be much more valuable, but obviously had to let the market decide also. I mean, but did he let the market decide? Like, probably my favorite meme that came out of this was by Dollar Cross Crypto, and it was like, you'll have to just go look at his Twitter, but like the market, I would not say that the market decide, like the current value that EHEX is at right now was not what the market decided. I think it had found kind of its place at like one, or like point, let's see, what was it at before? So it was like around 0.6 hex. That's kind of where you look at like the trend line of where hex had kind of found its value to EHEX to PHEX. That's kind of where it found its value, and now it's not that. So I would disagree that the market decided. RH is also known to update his worldview, which is essential to success. I love that everyone I follow and admire for being smart thinks the exact same way as me. RH made a mistake. Should have said this on day one. I mean, he kind of tried to. Like, back to this tweet. This was June 8th. So this was like 3 weeks after Hex launched. And I'd even put out a poll. A lot of the stuff I put out about EHEX was so that Richard Hart could see it, because I back to what somebody says, RH does update his worldview. And I tried to kind of set the case for why EHEX should kind of be respected, at least. Not like promoted, not promoted above PHEX, but just like respected and maybe just left alone to like add its own value. And which, if you're like just tuning in, you can go back on the stream. But yeah, I mean, it's like it has value, and I think it just needs to be left alone. It doesn't need to be attacked in order for Pulse Chain or Hex on Pulse Chain to succeed. Lamborghini isn't trying to solve the high MSRP problem. Very true. Some people understand that ETH fees are compensated with bigger bags and shorter stakes. They are super wrecked now. Everything has a ratio doesn't mean EHEX is worthless, just worth less. Yep. Why didn't people go scorched earth on POW and Fairchain Hex? It just ran its course, and people realized there was no value there. Having your copy on ETH is good, and peeps should chill out. Agreed. RH this test and makes adjustment. I think the SAC injection were small tests and he didn't like the results. My guess is people selling EHEX and pulled down RH tickers. Just a wild guess. I mean, if he was seeing people sell EHEX and pull down the RH tickers, like, he didn't help with that. Bottom line, I believe PX is the safest play coin in all of crypto. Has anyone, including RH, taken into consideration how this affects the SEC case against him? Attracting unnecessary attention at this stage doesn't seem efficient or optimal. Yeah, somebody kind of brought this up earlier. I mean, personally, I think with, even bigger with the SAC address, SAC related addresses making moves. I don't think those moves would be happening if there wasn't confidence in winning this case. I really don't. Because it's like, that's public information. And yeah, so I don't think, I think he's done a good job at like stating that these aren't like future projections. But yeah, I didn't realize the fees would be so bad. I considered eHex toast anyways. Now that he weighed in, the market can decide, no more confusion. Yeah, I mean, again, I keep going back to this, but like the market has been deciding for a year, coming up on a year now, and it had kind of found its value, Hex versus Hex, and I was happy with it. I'm like, I'm not looking to like for eHex. I'm not like overexposed to eHex and want it to do better than pHex. I just have, I have stakes from the fork, and that I'm more than happy to be worth something when they come due. And the market has its fluctuations. The first kind of dip was from RH's first tweet like this, but then we had a run up where it almost hit parity. It was like 0.92 hex. And then it kind of dipped off, and then it kind of just found its value. I would say this isn't like where eHex currently is not the market deciding. It's kind of like an event-based value that is probably going to be corrected, but we'll see. I have no idea what's going to happen now for sure. It's going to be fun to watch. Let's see, I'm pulling up the hex charts. Yeah, so let me share. Yeah, let me actually find that. 1 second. I'll find that. I'm grabbing that meme real quick, Hex Cheetah, because it's probably the funniest thing to come out. This was probably this is probably the best meme to come out of the whole thing, because like shortly after RH's tweet, he was like, I don't know, basically said that the market had decided, but like I don't know. It definitely it's pretty funny. Wasn't PHEX 1.8 Cinta when EHEX dump seems fair? Yeah, honestly, I mean, I think it was at a fair before the dump. Like, I think everyone was pretty happy with where it was. Let's see. Yeah, let's see. Hex was worth Hex was worth 1 point. So Hex on Pulse Chain was worth like 1.7 Hex on ETH. When OA ETF. The OA is buying ETH for the ETF. The ship is being righted because it was heading for the rocks. I don't think it was headed for the rocks at all. I think we're doing just fine. Yeah, this is the yeah, by far the best meme. I don't know who made it. People capitulate like Silvertooth. Yeah, I mean, like people capitulate all the time. And to be honest, like it would be interesting to look at the on-chain data and see who actually dumped. I'm sure there was all different types of dumpers that like saw the tweet. But one thing this community, historically you look at, they definitely trade the news. We saw it with the SEC case. We've seen it with a bunch of different. We saw it with Hex leading up to Pulse Chain. There were multiple fake outs where people were buying up thinking Pulse Chain was about to launch, and then the second it didn't, everyone dumped. So community definitely likes to trade news. That meme was the best thing to come from all this. I honestly would agree. That and just like people talking about Hex again. I confirmed it, but yes, PX pump immediately after EHEX was dumped around 8 a.m. Sunday. Richard Hart doesn't control everyone's buy and sell buttons. If Elon put 100 million into EHEX now, price would moon. But why would he wreck himself like that? Just an example. I mean, I think that this kind of ties into something I'm seeing a lot, like people saying RH didn't dump the chart, you did type of narrative. And while that is true, it's like, okay, but why did they dump? It's like, if you got to the core issue, it was the tweet. There's no need to try to like explain around that. Obviously people sold. That is one thing, important thing to note though. Richard Hart, the OA, the SAC address, no one related to the foundation of Hex sold. But it was, the market impact was from the Richard Hart tweet. So, I don't think trying to like skirt around that really helps anyone. People are exiting both hexes. Yep. I mean, the impact isn't just on Hex. I think it definitely impacts both hexes and other RH assets. Unfortunately, I don't think it should, but it does. People are emotional, and it's unfortunate. RH is doing something that's never been done before. It's a process. I had to check, but yes, EHEX dumped 0.5 cents, and in the same 2-hour time frame, PHEX went up to 2.7. I typed this once already, but the comment disappeared. So EHEX dumped to 0.5 cents, and in the same 2-hour time frame, PHEX went up 2.7 cents. Yeah, I mean, I'd have to look, but from my perspective, both Hex dumped. It was like it was like 80% EHEX dumped 80%, and then PHEX dumped like 40%. The sell-off was amplified because people were buying EHEX predicting would get bought up or bought by a sacrifice address like the others did. When the tweet indicated it wouldn't, they unwinded positions. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, very interesting. Someone had mentioned just observing how the SAC address buying different assets affected the price. And I think it probably was kind of a little test, but unfortunately, like people sold into it pretty heavily. So, that might indicate to the SAC address if it was trying to, pump the price of RH assets, the market might not just be ready yet. But yeah, guys, drop if you have any points, if you have any thoughts, like what was your reaction to the RH tweet? What are your thoughts with EHEX? Happy to address anything. I mean, I've kind of gone through off the rip, just like where my head was at. And you can definitely go back and watch that. Yes, PX did come back down its previous levels. That's probably the arbitrage bots. Great stream, dude. You have 785 viewers now on X. That's pretty crazy. I feel like X recently changed their algorithm or something for streaming, because I've been seeing a lot of streams getting a lot of views recently. I just wish I'm using StreamYard, and I wish that comments from X showed up on here. Let me see. But yeah, I mean, if you are watching on X, I'm not able to see your comments, unfortunately. So if you want to drop a comment, jump over to YouTube. Actually, let me just pull it up, actually. Will anyone remember this if PHEX hits, say, $50 in a year's time? It's a good question. That would be awesome if PHEX hits $50. But I think it's kind of just like wishful thinking. Oh wait, look at that. I can't actually see X comments on here. How'd that happen? Yeah, I mean, price go up makes everyone happier, but I don't know. Even this community, like even when prices are going up, people still like to cause drama and stuff. So, but I don't think this isn't just like small community drama. I think this was a pretty significant event for our community that needed to be talked about and addressed. Has anyone brought up the new Synergy project in regards to EHEX? We kind of talked about it a little bit earlier. Based off of the tweets I saw from Alex, I think that this kind of change in sentiment towards EHEX impacted what he was wanting to do with his upgraded version of Hedron and Icosa, which I think is really unfortunate. But Yeah, I will see. I think whatever he decides to build is going to be awesome. But from what it sounded like the this kind of change um, is kind of forcing him to rethink. Or I don't think anyone will be complaining then. This is just the news of the day. Nobody cares about Pulse X V1 not getting LP fees anymore. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, a solution was built for that, and yeah, so that is very true. Things come and go, and so when it does feel like the end of the world, when something big happens, um, unless it's like a hack or something, it's really not the end of the world. And honestly, buying dips off of like major events, if you believe in the product, is like huge opportunity. And I'm not ever like advising people to buy eHex unless you want to. I'm not like, but traditionally, like, big events, if it's a good product, good opportunities. I like let's see, I like Hex even more because it has its own blockchain to live on now. Yeah. I'm not saying homeless tokens are bad. I got blocked by Sack Daddy himself for that meme. Yeah, I think he's kind of been in defensive mode. It's unfortunate. I mean, it was a lot, I'm sure, for him to like have to deal with. But or just from all angles, like from within the community and beyond. But I'm sure he'll get through it. He does well in pressure. Send it all to PHEX. RH just tweeted about it. Let's see what. All right, RH is definitely watching the stream. He says, those who yelled at me for pointing out that Hex is better than eHex should say sorry. The real question is, why weren't you saying it yourself? Yeah. All right. If you're watching this, shoot me a DM. I'll send you an invite link. Maybe he's watching. Yeah, I definitely think he's watching for sure. That just makes the meme even better now. Yeah. Oh. Let's see. Oh, I thought you said he tweeted again. Oh, no, it's the same tweet. Honestly, okay. Okay, honestly, I'm gonna let that tweet I'm gonna let that tweet grow a little bit just with replies, and then we're gonna go through the people's replies to that tweet. I mean, it's so funny. The funniest thing is that like there's like this little cabal of people who clearly dumped their eHex right after the launch of Pulse Chain, and those people got destroyed by the community because it's like they were basically just fudding the community's bags. Like They clearly made their move, and now they were trying to get everyone to buy something else. And now those people have like come back fully vindicated. Like, I was right. It's so funny. He tweeted again. Did he tweet again? Someone DM Richard Hart and tell him to come on stream. Let's talk about it. What up, Marco? How you doing, man? Yeah, I mean, it's important to talk about. I think we've had a really good conversation, really good questions being asked, kind of addressing some like whack Hex Fud. What's up? What's up? If he comes on, I'd love to help offer pros and cons to both sides of Hex. Damn, I'd make coffee for that. He should have turned on the EHEX W Pulse and EHEX PHEX Inc. and said, EHEX is the meme coin now. Go earn yield with it. Already showing the stream would be too fantastic. No way I'm getting that lucky tonight. People were crying for 2 years for Pulse Channel launch. It launched, then load started shilling EHEX right away, or what? I mean, dude, you keep saying that, but like, no one was shilling EHEX. No one was really shilling Hex at all. Like, that's what's so crazy about all this is like, why are you going after EHEX? Like, if you're like, that's really the first thing. Like this is a real question. When's the last time Richard Hart actually said anything about Hex? I should have pulled that up on stream or prior to going on stream. When's the last time he talked about a T-share? I don't think like, I mean, I'm probably wrong, and maybe one of you guys can find a tweet, but Richard Hart hasn't talked about Hex for a year, at least, and if he has, it hasn't been much. The focus has been all on the new things, which I'm fine with, but you know, one of the first things to come out and say is like, this one's bad. Like, imagine the bragging rights for saying, I turned my first coin into a meme coin and it literally outperformed everything again. That would be quite funny. I mean, his meme coin is outperforming everything. So if EHEX becomes a meme coin, it might be the most bullish thing for Hex. I noticed that too. I think it's because the biggest critics are the loudest. Trying to understand. People were crying for 2 years for Pulse Channel launch. It launched, and I mean, no one's being a critic. Like I've said many times this whole stream, one, there's no EHEX maxis out there. No one is telling anyone to stake EHEX over PHEX. I would say 90%, 98% of all talk about Hex has been talking about pulse chain Hex. The only positive things that people have talked about Hex, which was, around it pumping, which has had pretty good performance over the past year. I mean, like, people want to point to that Hex is down 99%, but when you look at the chart, I mean, if you were buying like throughout the whole bear market, the chart looks pretty good overall. Like, pulling up the chart. Okay, let's look at apologies for the lawnmower outside. Hardly anyone spoke about any of the Hex on both sides of the year. Folks talked about all the other coins since Pulse Chain came out. Now all these people want to pretend they were. That's honestly probably the most frustrating thing about this, is like, this is the first time you guys have said anything about Hex for a year, including Richard Hart. Like, Richard Hart hasn't said really anything. I mean, and it's like comparative about what he used to talk about, right? Like, that's all we can go off of is the Richard Hart, early Richard Hart, was shilling the shit out of Hex. Talking about pulse chain, talking about delayed gratification. Obviously, things change. I know he's going through a lot with the case and stuff. But he's managed to talk about his other things. So it's like, this is the comeback to Hex, is to like shit on one of them that just hurts the community. I don't really, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. There was a movie all about Hex, just saying. Yeah, there was. So like for how long did that hype last? And how effective was that? PX bragging rights is now the shit on eHex. Yeah, it's kind of wild times right now. It's really weird. It's hard to explain, but I see patterns in groups with counter narratives. Expand on that. What do you mean? As somebody says all the time, all the people doing that will have those same talking points used against them and PX. Dumb, isn't it? Not too sure what you mean by that. That Somi has been saying about Hex recently. I respect the hell out of Somi for the work he puts in, but some of the things have been a little off with Hex, but that's the internet. Hex is all the same. It's the network making a huge difference. And so we move forward. As long as PHEX reaches $1, then everyone is happy, right? Yeah, I mean, people have kind of said this multiple times. Of course, if PHEX reaches $1, then everyone's happy. But what if it doesn't? And what if EHEX could have reached 50 cents and PHEX was 50 cents? Not saying that there's parity, but why give up half the value? I don't get it. And this is speaking from somebody that like I'm not like actively buying EHEX. I'm someone that went into Pulse Chain with the understanding of like we now have 2 hexes. All of our stakes got copied. We're not migrating our stakes to Pulse Chain, so it's like why crush half my value? It makes no sense. The movie wasn't great. A lot of wasted time in it. Yeah, I was gonna do a review on the movie. Never really got a chance to. I think it was good for what it was, which was really more of a Richard Hart documentary. I really wish they would have educated better about, like they educated that there was like this fanatical community, but they didn't really educate why they were fanatical or really go into what people loved about Hex. It was kind of like, it was like pretty base layer, and but it's like I think they created the movie they set out to make. Check out Richard Hart's latest tweet. Let's see. I mean, I think it's probably the same one I've seen. Yeah, it's the same one. No people shitting on EHEX that hold PHEX will have those EHEX talking points used against them by non-hexkins. Yeah. And I think if I'm understanding what you're talking about, kind of goes back to my point. When you're talking about outside crypto community, like the rest of crypto outside of our community, the chart that people are going to be looking at is the Ethereum chart. And I hate to say that, but no matter how much you want to say that Pulse Chain Hex is the new Hex, it's the only Hex, people will always look at and use the EHEX chart against us. And it was one of the reasons that I went over earlier of why you should at least want it to do well, not like trying to pump it to the moon, but at least have it look healthy, because people not only judge Hex, but the rest of our ecosystem off that because it's attached to Richard Hart. Well, PHEX better freaking reach all-time high and more, or it's all failed. Yeah, I'm confident that it will. But yeah, I mean, I think people are kind of sitting back a little bit and just like expecting all new all-time high prices to happen, just because they're bound to. But like this community really does need to put in work, promote Hex, promote Pulse Chain, if we want new people and to reach all-time highs. Pulse Chain is awesome for Hex. What if there is something about EHEX that the SEC is trying to stop and get a hold of, and RH is trying to get the community to not get more wrecked when the news comes out? Again, this is just one of those like weird hypotheticals that no idea where you came from that I deal with. And there's no reason why the SEC would would have access to eHex and not the rest of RH's assets. So the clearest I can explain it is that there's always a defined percentage of people in the related chats that are only there just to counter the narrative. So it appears like Chris A mentions. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of people that just like to debate. I think there's a lot of people on crypto Twitter that don't even hold, that are just there for the drama or the engagement or the community. And not to say Chris A is that person or anything. I am enjoying these discussions. I think they're good to have. If you guys have any points you want to make, would love to see valid points, like, you know, that maybe no one's thought of, but not like conspiratorial BS. Like, we don't need that. Doesn't move the ball forward at all. There was a presumption that eHex was cannibalizing pHex. Watch the post tweet price action shows it wasn't. Now the brand appears damaged. Let me read that again. There was a presumption that eHex was cannibalizing pHex. Watching the post tweet price action shows it wasn't. Now the brand appears damaged. I mean, it wasn't really. Like, when you look at Hex price versus each other, it was pretty steady. Let me pull that up again. Like, there was like a dip after Richard Hart's first tweet about pX versus eHex, and then it kind of, eventually bottomed out, and then we had one peak, and then it kind of leveled out around like 0.56 hex, and it wasn't like running up on it. So that's why, like, the RH tweet was kind of just out of left field. Hopefully this is just how it feels to be early on a new chain. No one can predict what comes next for Hex on Pulse Chain except RH, because he has the wealth to dictate crypto markets, even BTC and ETH. Yeah, I mean, I think even Richard Hart can't fully predict what's going to happen. Obviously, he has impact, and I think this is a good learning opportunity of how much impact he really carries. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, Richard Hart does want his chain, his products to succeed, and so, he's got a lot of resources on deck to make that happen if he chooses to, and so, extremely bullish for all Richard Hart assets. 1,200 people on here, not bad. Oh, that's pretty crazy. I didn't see that. The bridge fees will cost more than the ETH fees for large stakes. There is no real on-ramp for Pulse Chain. The bridge fees will cost more than ETH fees for large stakes. Yeah, I mean, I'm not too sure what you're saying there, but it is interesting. Right now, in order to get to Pulse Chain, the main bridge is from Ethereum, and you do have to pay those fees, which is kind of unfortunate. Hopefully we get an on-ramp we can trust. I mean, that would honestly, that should be no expectations from Richard Hart, but damn, that would be awesome if he took that on, because I would trust whatever he builds over a lot of other people. So there's real no on-ramp for Pulse Chain. Yeah, I mean, it kind of sucks right now. You have to go through a bridge. I'm actually working on some new docs for Pulse Chain that walk through how to on-ramp, and it's definitely not the smoothest process, but I think it's fine. I didn't sell any eHex, holding all RH crypto. We have a bull run to ride, hopefully. That's awesome, man. Congrats on not selling. just another test. I was saying earlier, like, this community is so formidable now. Like, if you're still here and you're not shaken out by all the shit we like, I don't think any other crypto has gone through the amount of shit we've gone through. And you know, I would say the community is more passionate than ever. And you know, with that passion does come, it's like you get the positive passion, but you also get the negative passion sometimes too. And so, you know, what you're seeing, the reaction to the chart and, you know, the tweet and all of that, kind of comes with, it's like a blessing and a curse type of thing. Like, if you know, you want people to care a lot, they're going to care both ways. It's Bitcoin Cash, not Bcash. The Hex on Pulse chain is the Hex from the first cycle, but now it has no injuries. I mean, I would disagree with this completely. Like, sure, it got copied over, but it's not. The Hex on Pulse chain is the Hex from the start. Dude, honestly, no, I'm not gonna discredit eHex on Ethereum. That's made it through its own craziness, FUD cycles, fighting through the FUD from the ETH community early on, the BTC community. Like, that chart deserves its own recognition for sure. I mean, you know, Hex on Pulse chain, yes, it started. You know, it's on its own journey and it has to prove itself for sure. But Hex on Ethereum deserves its own respect. That's why this is a much needed stream. Hex Telegram is so volatile to get information. Yeah, Telegram's very, very hard to use these days, especially. I think it's just terrible at scaling. You know, the main RH Telegrams have kind of gotten so big that it's almost impossible to get answers. Not to say that you can't, but it's just definitely harder. I mean, I did start a Telegram. I mean, not a Telegram. A Pulse Chain forum. It's the URL is just pulsechain.forum that launched it maybe a month and a half ago or 2 months ago. So would be awesome to get some community migration over there, just because I think a traditional forum, like if people ask good questions, then people can search for answers and have more relevant discussions. Whereas like Telegram is just a nonstop, you know, feed of people talking over each other. And so can fly and not wreck smaller investors. If people don't buy eHex and now focus more on PHEX, it will benefit PHEX. Yeah, I mean, that's how markets work for sure. Steering these small ones investor yield from staking like an extreme tax man. I don't know what that means. RH simply wanted to remind the dum-dums that Ethereum fees will kill long-term stakes. Peeps reacted in many ways. It's that simple. Let's move on and stop worrying about ulterior motives. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the tweet had a pretty negative like impact on the community and price. But sorry, my mouse died. I have to use my damn phone as a mouse right now. Literally, this is the worst invention. I tweeted out this a while back, but having to plug on the bottom of this, I need like 3 of these, honestly, because they die. They die on me like twice a day. And I have to use a phone app mic or mouse. It's so dumb. Yeah, so back to this, like, I think, as I said, like, I think the intention with RH is there. I just think the execution was extremely poor with how he tweeted it out, and obviously had an extremely negative impact that that hurt the community. So I I don't think he had ulterior motives. I think he had good motives, but it just wasn't executed well. If the point of Hex is staking in T-shares, ETH is unsustainable. $500 in stake fees. So if you haven't heard, there actually is a solution for staking Hex on Ethereum. It's called Hex Stake Pools. Look into Maximus. That is the best and should be the only. If you're going to stake Hex on Ethereum, stake in Hex Stake Pools. Truly the best way to stake Hex. Not only for gas fee savings, there's a lot of other reasons why it's better. And most people that stake in pools won't even pay in-stake gas fees. So if that's a big concern and you're looking to stake on Ethereum, look into pools. So many people blindly following RH like he's a god. You can see it in this chart even after he nuked 50% of their wealth. Insane to witness. Yeah, there definitely is a, I advise against that mentality of treating Richard Hart like a god because he's not, and he makes mistakes. And when you put somebody in like a god tier, they're not going to live up to that standard, and it's going to really, it just does not set a good expectation for any person. RH is a very talented founder, very smart, but he's not perfect. No one's perfect. And, because the thing is like, a lot of people's reaction, like when you put somebody in a god tier and then they make a mistake, it's like there's not a lot of forgiveness and understanding from a lot of people because they have them on such a high pedestal. So it's good to remember that Rich Hart is human and makes mistakes like everyone else. If you can get BNB, you can get on as well without ETH. That's very true. There's another bridge called Token. Let me see. Tokensex.link. That's the bridge from BNB. And I'm pretty sure, I don't want to say, Brett, the Pulse Chain dev, has been a promoter of that bridge. I'm not sure if he works with them or what, but it's a good way to rather than having to pay ETH fees for sure. I got soaked by the idea of Pulse Chain being sharded. Ari just blocked me because I asked him how he can trust him going forward. Yeah, I think Richard Hart is definitely in defensive mode right now. So, I would treat his reaction to things with a grain of sand. And, he does follow people and then unfollow them. And so I would just, not let it get to you. Click community site at the bottom of the bridge page. Yep. I tripled my EHEX position. See how it plays out. Could be a good move, but yeah. I mean, honestly, it's gonna be fun to watch. EHEX's story a year from now will be really interesting. Do you think the OA big ETH buys will be used to LP EHEX with ETH on Pulse Chain to get whales on a Pulse Chain that want thick liquidity? I doubt it. I mean, with how Richard is acting towards Hex on Ethereum, I doubt he'll be doing anything positive or adding liquidity like that. If anything, I mean, I would just be happy if he just bridged it, to be honest. That'd be awesome. It would kind of erase the net negative that EHEX tanking took away from the bridge TVL. Could attract a lot of ETH whales though. So, but again, I try not to think into too many what ifs around OA addresses or SAC addresses. I'm here for I'm here for the pump. If the person who owns those decides to pump pulse chain, that'd be awesome. But it's really one of those things you shouldn't have expectations of, and you shouldn't like plan your own strategy around, because probably won't work out well. People forgot that eHex is still a working product, and Richard never said it's dead. Yep. Same code. And I would definitely agree it's not dead. It's going to take more than an Ari's tweet and some paper hands to shake me out. It's hilarious how sensitive some people in crypto are. I agree, man. I'm not a seldom user for sure. And with Hex, it's like, I think I just think of Hex very differently than a lot of people. I'm so long on it that it's like all the stuff that we've been through with Hex, it's like kind of unfazes me, but I also don't like to see like things that could potentially like threaten long-term Hex. And I think, the paradigm of trying to like off eHex is, if it persists, it's a net negative for Hex in general and for Pulse Chain. I think there's way more opportunity with eHex doing well, which I kind of laid out. Maybe I'll after I go through these comments, maybe I'll go back through a few of those points because I think they're really important for people to understand. But I think there's so much more benefit to this community and to our ecosystem if it does well than if we try to kill it. Thanks for streaming. The more the better. From all Hex and Pulse Chain content creators. Yeah, I'm gonna be streaming more. So if you guys are watching right now, hit the subscribe button. I'm definitely gonna start streaming again. Just been so busy, man. Like I feel like there is definitely a point with streaming where it's like, are you adding value or are you just wasting people's time? And I don't want to just stream to stream. Like anytime I stream or make a video, it's always like something I want to really bring value. So if I can't like be consistently streaming and bringing new ideas or value, then I'm not going to do it. I'll focus on other things. And I've been really busy working on a new resource for Pulse Chain right now that hopefully I can get out this week. Not sure if traditional decentralization has a need for whales. Not sure what you mean. Devs and Pulse Chain have created the solution for gas fees. Pool Party and Steakhouse provide option in the perpetuals. So I don't get it. Why not let the system develop? Yeah. Maximus stake pools do solve Ethereum gas fees. So if you want to stake Hex on Ethereum, definitely look into those. Hex and Pulse Chain are the soundest tech in all of crypto. Would agree. Did we get a new RE tweet? Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, dude. Now he's definitely watched this stream. Definitely watched his stream. Your Heart said, interesting. You can get more for selling 1 million of eHex on PulseX than you get on Ethereum dexes. So PulseX liquidity is thicker for eHex bridge to Pulse Chain than in Uniswap on Ethereum. But like LOL, look at Real Hex. There's so much more liquidity. It's crazy. Thank goodness for PulseX. Thank goodness for Pulse Chain. And thank goodness for Real Hex. Dude, now honestly, I want eHex to go to the moon. Like I'm not like, this is so funny. Like if you would have told me a year ago that this would be, when we were waiting for Pulse Chain launch, if you would have told me that, Oh my gosh. That's so funny. Oh, that's hilarious. Tired of Windows blocking the sites. You use Ubuntu based OS, you get sites no problem. Did he ever say eHex is worthless or just the pHex is better? Yes, he's, but does he still want it to do well? Honestly, I mean, I would have said he was I don't know. He's kind of like up in the antes here, and now he's trying to say that there's only one real hex, which is hilarious. Definitely watching the stream. But yeah, I mean, aside from gas fees, that's the same code. It really is. And like, I don't, after all I've laid out, and I've like, no Rich Hart sees my tweets. Everything I've laid out for the reasons why you should want eHex to do well. Not saying like I've never been someone to promote eHex above pHex. I don't think anyone has. There's no such thing as an eHex maxi. I haven't seen anyone promoting eHex over pHex. But it's okay for it to survive and do well. Like just let it do its thing. Focused economic energy onto the best crypto on earth. pHex is the way forward. Yeah, guys, stop buying Pulse, PulseX, and Ink. Only buy pHex. Gotta go. Thank you and Catch for all you're doing for Pool Party. Love Party Token. That's awesome, man. Glad you like it. Yeah, Pool Party is really cool, man. It's kind of a culmination of everything, like everything we've done with Maxi and then the Perpetuals, and then Pool Party is kind of like full circle, allowing anyone to launch their own Hex stake pools. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to like really work to grow Hex with us, like looking at Pool Party, launch a Hex stake pool, or start joining some pools, and like let's get some energy back in Hex, like some positive energy, positive buy demand, positive stake demand. It's a huge opportunity. He unfollowed me yesterday. That's crazy, man. RH is definitely in defensive mode right now. Let me see if he unfollowed me. Yeah, he unfollowed me as well. He'll be back. I think he's going through his own thing right now as well. But he follows and unfollows people all the time. Just subscribed. Happy to be here. That's awesome, George. Thanks for subbing. It's like I said, RH is saying it because the dum-dums were not talking about high gas fees. He had to say it. I mean, I think everyone's talking about high gas fees. That's like the number one thing everyone's talking about. So he tweeted again. Let's see. RH, shoot me a DM. Let's stream. I know you're watching. Oh my God. Real Hex. Honestly, RH needs to stream, man. It's time. Like, if you can tweet, you can stream. And I think we've got enough people in here, Richard Hart. It's worth your time. I know you're watching. Shoot me a DM. Let's set it up. I'll send you the link. Let's talk about it. This is so funny. Yeah, we've read those. Those are eHex 6% cheaper, and you get T-shirts for 4x less. Yeah, RH is definitely losing it. Honestly, though, like just hop on stream. We can talk it out. I got blocked. Be happy. It's just an unfollow. Yeah, he'll follow you back eventually. Yes, it is the same code. It's the same code. All caps. It's so serious. The beast cometh. Can you let me know? Can you let me know if Rich Hargey's tweeting? The cheerleader move's hilarious though, dude. I can't even. Who cares if he unfalls or does? He can't take away folks' bags, and he's pumping ours, so we win. That sexy unfollowed you kind of makes me think he doesn't care about what y'all have made. It's fine, man. I mean, we were like the second product ever mentioned by RH. So he likes what we do. I think RH is just in like full defense mode right now. But I mean, he can always hop on and speak his mind. Starting to wonder if RH has started using drugs. I don't think so. I think he's pretty against that. We honor Richard Art as the biggest PP. Honestly, the PP talk, man, that was kind of the last. I think that kind of was like the pinnacle of outrage marketing. That was wild. There's no upside to his tweet, and it only divided the community and destroyed trust. Makes no sense. I honestly would have to agree with that. Like, I don't think it was that well thought through, but yeah, I mean, again, I do think he has good intentions, and it'll all work out. All right, he's just trying to shake you out. Absolutely. Watch RH just like, no, I'm not. I'm honestly, I'm not feeding into the conspiracy. We already decided that the dumb conspiracy stuff doesn't help. So I'm not gonna like give any what ifs, because that's how people in this community run with the dumbest ideas. So I'm not even gonna share them. Concentrated by pressure is canceled by concentrated self pressure. It really is. Instead of fudding E-Hex, just praise P-Hex and ignore it. Better narrative. Honestly, I don't. Yeah, that's the thing I don't get, man. It was just like you didn't need to like compare. And now, I mean, now he's watching the stream. He's going full in. No backing down. This is the real Hex. He's honestly he's on one right now though. This is hilarious. He had options. Tell people stake E-Hex with Maximus. Remove bridge fees for E-Hex to trade on Pulse. Avoided all this by being clear and saying P-Hex was real Hex day one of Pulse. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've talked about it a few times already, but do not solo stake Hex on Ethereum anymore. The gas fee solution for staking is here. It is Maximus stake pools, and you can either just buy Maxi or the perpetuals, or you can start or join stakes on Pool Party, which is now live. But yeah, if you're looking to stake on Ethereum, do not stake solo anymore. So remove bridge fee for E-Hex to trade on Pulse. I mean, I don't think, I haven't looked, but I don't think is there a bridge fee again? Still no bridge fee. So, but what we do need though, if the SAC address wants to really bring people over is a gas fee fund for people to bridge. Yeah, and then avoided all this by being cleared and saying PHEX was real hex day one of Pulse. Yeah, it was just such a weird change up from, I mean, I think it was just to avoid people dumping prior to launch, probably. I probably, even if he said that, I still wouldn't, because there's just no point. Like, you know, we were in a bear market. And I just have like my mental around Hex is just like, I think so different from a lot of people. I'm not thinking about like, I'm thinking like years in advance. And so there's no real point to me to like, I've never EES to Hex stake. It's just like in a different compartment of my brain. And I just want it to be alive. Like I just want it to survive and do well on both chains. But yeah, it was the timing of this was just kind of odd. What if it's not RH? We need a recorded video seeing him call Hex on Pulse there. Oh, yeah. Don't trust verify. Yeah, we need an RH video, or he needs to come on this stream right now. Vitalik Burton won't support ETC if it takes over. I'll have to read that later. RH hacked. No, don't spread that. RH is not hacked. But also don't click any, I don't know if you guys have been, I know RH has pointed this out a lot, but the reply bots are insane. Do not click links and replies to Richard Hart tweets or any really. Just be really smart. A lot of fake Richard Hart accounts trying to steal people's money. Maybe the government SEC stole RH's account. No. A 60% impact from just $1 million. That's 400 fee is just base rate. The actual cost must be a ton. What do you think about forking eHex and removing OA and having an eHex? eHex can get free one-to-one distribution. I mean, I personally think the OA is actually a pumpamental and is much, and I think it's more of a pumpamental than it hurts Hex. And people have tried to like copy Hex in the past and airdrop the community. I don't think that really has a chance to be successful. It'd be cool if RH did pop in for his first comeback stream. That would be awesome. Yeah, that would be super awesome. All right, I'm gonna read RH comments on his last tweet. Let me see. Yeah, I don't know. RH is turned up right now, dude. I'm reading the. I think you just dropped another one. Let me read. Predicting the future is hard. No one knew for certain that Hex would be worth more than eHex or that liquidity would move, it seems, entirely to Pulse Chain. Nor could people know for certain Ethereum gas fees would stay insane, but you knew it was a possibility. Just like you couldn't know you probably meant known they'd approve the Bitcoin ETF and buy all the dips with not a single 25% dip from the bottom to 4x higher. Not true, there was a dip. But after you see the reality, you see it happen, that's it. You made your bed, you must sleep in it. Predicting the future is hard. Here's the good news. It's perfect storm for PulseX, Pulse Chain, and Hex. The majority of you guys won. Most people moved over and are enjoying the amazing affordable fees, thousands of times cheaper, and millions of dollars saved. It's wonderful news. If you think about it, how could a second chain possibly save anyone on fees if you had to in-stake on two chains that have won? Only by people stopping wasting money on the expensive chain. And what's the only way they might stop doing that? Honestly, he obviously chilled out because he's not all in caps. I think it's so funny when he's talking about like no one could have predicted the future, and then, but it's like, dude, you made the future. Like the future was playing out. You decided to change it, and now we're here. And honestly, I'm all for. Oh, this is really funny. We need dramatic music when you read these tweets. Okay. Okay, I definitely will in the future. I'm going to get some dramatic non-copyrighted music. He says he only communicates in person, doesn't use Twitter. So being a billionaire, so it's a fancy chatbot. Honestly, is it AI? He might be, honestly. Who runs? Does he still have that in his bio? Yeah. So it's not even already tweeting. You got to look far into the future and have common sense. This is so funny. Like I'm like streaming and RH is reacting like live right now. Like Richard, you might as well come on stream, dude. Let's talk about it. Let's see what people are saying in the replies to this. Let's see. When live stream. So these replies are funny, man. RH is kicking the tree again, guys. Yeah, let's watch the chart. Let's see. I mean, I don't know who else can sell, but let's see if RH can take eHex to the dirt. Let's see. RH equals a liquidity pay. This is his last call to bridge in EHEX liquidity into Pulse. Yeah, what's Richard Hart gonna do? I hope he makes some crazy like the tweets, but let's see a Sack Daddy OA move. Never forget, talent hits a target no one else can hit. Genius hits a target no one else can see. Price is starting to look juicy, not gonna lie. RH is talking about not expecting people to act the way they did. It happens. To say he should have known is silly. How can people bot understand? I know unintended consequences happen all the time. I mean, yeah, I've been saying that this whole stream, man. RH is not perfect. He makes mistakes. I mean, we're definitely seeing him double down rather than like admitting that he could have executed that tweet better to get his message across. But he's not perfect. He's human. How can you lose a ton of money? How can losing a ton of money be so much fun? Gotta love you, RH. Damn, are we dumping again? Let me see. Let me pull up my watch list. Oh, P-Hex down 12%. EHEX up 0.16%. Yeah, if RH is about it, let's see he's talking about $1 million hex buys. Let's see an OA $1 million hex buy. Prove the slippage. Prove the slippage theory with a massive buy. Man, I wish people had more dry powder to buy some more P-Hex. I mean, I think any serious buyer is waiting for this storm to probably subside because it's kind of ongoing now, apparently. Richard needs to stop tweeting, let people waste money on ETH if they want to. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, man. Like, people obviously still like ETH. They're willing to pay high fees. They're probably in a class of crypto people that have millions in dry powder. And like the only people you're really hurting with how you're approaching this is your own community. Like no ETH whale is looking at Arch's tweets and being like, oh, Richard Hart is right. P-Hex is cheaper. I'm gonna go to Pulse Chain. It's like just let it live, man. Let it have its own life. What percentage of your portfolio is EHEX, Hex, Pulse, and PulseX? That's a good question. I mean, if we're talking dollars, now EHEX is much smaller. But I'll have to look into that. I'm actually not sure. Hex USDT MEXC looks like it has high frequency trade routes, at least trading view. That's how it looks. People are definitely selling this news for sure. All right, I got to go to the bathroom real quick, guys. I'll be back. All right. Are there any new Ari's tweets? Nope. Let's see. Read my idea for resetting EHEX. Okay, let me pull it up. Drop the Dipcatcher, drop the link to your tweet if that's what you're talking about. Okay, I think I found it. Burning EHEX that already hasn't been in circulation isn't really doing much. A better abandonment solution would be to take 5% of it and send the price to as close to zero as possible, then layer a thick sell side liquidity range with the remaining 95% from 0.000007 to 0.0007 and let willing buyers who step in run it back. That'd be awesome. I like how someone replied and said, OA selling sets a terrible precedent for RH ecosystem. OA is smart enough to just do nothing, I think. Well, the RH does not want to do nothing, so they're going to do something. EHEX selling pressure. PHEX might be getting the bid here. I have a feeling PHEX is going to start ripping to the upside within the next 4 weeks. Is coming at some point. Of that, I feel sure. I hope so. That'd be awesome. Yeah, Hex is not. PHEX is kind of tanky right now. EHEX is kind of sitting right now. Or maybe I'm just looking at the wrong chart. Let me see. Oh, yeah, I was looking at the wrong chart. Oh my gosh, dude. I'm going to share this because it's hilarious. Dude, you cannot kill Ethereum Hex. And honestly, what eHex is going through right now is making me more bullish on it than ever. And I wasn't even somebody that was like hard promoting it, but this has gotten crazy to the point it's like, you got to show some respect to OG Hex, dude. Let me see. Like, somebody's got to stand up for OG Hex. DC, if you want to, I don't know if you're busy, but if you want to hop on, let me know. Okay, honestly, a great site would be the eHex price chart, just with overlaid Hex RH tweets. It's fighting, dude. This is freaking awesome. Try to get sold down. Nope. Now I'm genuinely rooting for it to win. Rip Ethereum Hex. Heck no. Hex could get delisted from exchanges. I mean, it's not listed, so if it drops 70 more %, I'm buying a lot. It's not wasted money spending gas to end your stake. It's just factored into your effective price. Dipcatcher's got a really good paradigm and way to think about gas fees. He should stream on it soon. eHex volume 383K, PX volume 6.4 million. How long have you been in Hex? Have or taken profit or hodl all the time? I've been in Hex since the beginning. Dipcatcher got me in very, very early. And that was a crazy time. Like, getting in, everyone was trying to like formulate a good strategy around Hex. And I was somebody that like full sent the Hex that I got early. So I've got some massive stakes, long-term stakes. And so no, I mean, my Hex strategy has been years from now, not trading. So like, this is all just like, the only reason I really am defending eHex right now, and just with like this attack that's going on, is like, I just want it to survive. Like, I want it to exist. I want it to do well. I kind of laid out the points earlier in this stream why I want to do well, which I think far outweigh any to the contrary. And so yeah, I'm very long term. Yeah, I'm hodl all the way. Stair step in. Dipcatcher on point. It's a waste if you could have taken the same energy and applied it on Pulse Chain, which I think is Richard's point. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Dipcatcher will reply to that if he's still on, but thinking about your cost basis, yeah, if you have like small bags, like definitely be on Pulse Chain. If you can't afford, if like Ethereum gas cuts into your holdings significantly, like you shouldn't be on Ethereum at all, for sure. Yo, SEC, you may as well drop the case because you're going to lose it. I think so too. I think Richard Hart has a very strong case, and I think what's been happening recently is definitely pointing to strength in the case. Staking on ETH is technically useless as the intended gains are dissolved exactly by the fees. Not with Hex stake pools, which I've been kind of saying throughout this whole stream, is like, if you're going to stake ETH, if you're going to stake Hex on Ethereum, do it in Hex stake pools. So like really think about that. So like, what does a stake pool do? It consolidates many in-stake gas fees to just one. So rather than people having solo stakes, a bunch of in-stake gas fees, it's one Hex stake. So there's only one in-stake gas fee. And it's kind of funny. I like the whole narrative that Rich Hart is actually saying right now is what I've been saying is the narrative for Hex stake pools and with Maximus for like years now. And he's kind of adopted that, but you should definitely be staking in pools if you're staking on Ethereum. Hold on tight, fasten them seatbelts. We got a little turbulence. Yeah. Honestly, I hope Richard has he kept tweeting, or is he kind of done? He's adding some good volatility here. But I mean, positive out of this, like Richard Hart is talking about Hex again. That's huge. It's all transparent in the blockchain, and Hex is provably not a security. Yeah. Hex stake pools are a worse alternative to native Hex stake if price appreciation is your goal. Absolutely not. It's actually better because if you're staked, if you're in a native solo stake and price appreciates, and you're time locked, you have no way to capture that value until your stake ends. So, and you actually earn more yield as well. So the benefits go on and on for Hex stake pools. They've only gotten better. I would highly recommend looking into them for sure. RH cares about the masses. Seems some streamers care more about their personal. It's the only reason to make a big diff. It's the only reason to make a big diff. Yes, exactly. You have no way to capture the value in a native Hex stake, which makes Hex more scarce. No, so actually, with a native Hex stake, it's actually not hard time locked. So if you EES your stake and then sell that Hex, it actually hurts the Hex price. So with Hex stake pools, the Hex in the pool is actually hard time locked. It cannot be EES'd. So it's actually much more positive for the price of Hex. Let the market decide. All this only brings more division within this great community. This energy should have been of good use to promote Pulse Chain and Hex. Agreed. You know, but it's like we're here. Like we can't just like not talk about big things that happen, because it's either us talking about it and addressing it, or people outside of our community are going to talk about it and spin it. And this is an important conversation we need to have. Honestly, it's like critical to our community to talk about this. I'm not saying Hex pools are worthless, but native Hex stakes are objectively better because you cannot sell if you're staked. You can always sell your maxi coins. So if you are afraid of yourself, which I think is a terrible mindset, I've always spoken against this mindset that people talk about protecting yourself from yourself. I think that's a very weak mindset, because what about all other RH assets that you're holding liquid? Are you afraid to sell those? But if you are afraid of yourself, then you can stake in Diamond Hands with the perpetuals, which is essentially time locking for the time of the stake. And then you can also use other tools like Time Pays Me from Maddie Allen that you can time lock your tokens. Big deal about this. Ethereum is just not as good chain anymore. Let's not be disingenuous. Pulled Hex stakes aside. What do you mean by Hex is not a good chain anymore? Like, what metric are you looking at that it's not a good chain? Like, are we really, like, just because of gas fees, Ethereum is no good anymore? If you look like across the board, Ethereum is still number one. And they're working on gas fee solutions. So I think the disingenuous thing is to say that Hex is not a good chain anymore because people can't afford gas fees. Yes, but Maxi extracts value from direct Hex buys, so your point isn't really relevant. Actually, it doesn't. So if you actually go look back on volume with Maxi or the perpetuals, it's actually quite low. There's not a crazy trading volume. No one is like buying Maxi that would have otherwise bought Hex. And again, it's like the hard time lock of Maxi and the perpetuals is far more advantageous to Hex price than market buyers. That's just not a good argument. It's not about being afraid of yourself. It's about increasing the value of Hex, and the value goes up if people cannot sell. But that's the thing with native Hex stakes. You can sell. You can EES, which we've seen, and you can sell. So that's not a good argument either. But we can keep going, man. This is a good conversation. You're not going to beat me on why Hex stake pools are not the best. They are. And they're better for Hex too. I just got blocked by Richard Hart for replying, using perpetuals is one way to stop wasting money. It's true. And I mean, RH is fully aware of Maximus and Hex stake pools. If I can ride Maxi yield without being committed, then I am leeching other stakers. That's the value extract component I talk about. If I can ride Maxi yield without being committed, what does that even mean? Leeching off other stakers? No. That, like, your arguments are getting worse. Yes, you can EES your Hex stakes, but that's way worse than selling your Maxi tokens whenever you want. But that's way worse than selling. Yeah, it is, because you're actually selling the price of Hex down. Selling Maxi doesn't hurt the price of Hex. Let's see if RH has tweeted. Tell me how I contribute to Hex if I don't commit to a real native stake. Tell me how I contribute to Hex if I don't. Stake pools are real stakes, and the Hex is actually locked. I'd like to get in contact with you, Gold Key. Try to reach out to me on Twitter. My inbox can sometimes be useless. Like it sometimes gets flooded, but I'll try to check it if you want to reach out. The gas fee issue is exactly what makes Ethereum a garbage chain now. It's like saying a gold-plated bicycle is great because it's expensive and gold, but nobody wants or can ride it. That's a wild example. Yes, it does hurt Hex because if people buy Maxi, they're not buying Hex. Again, go look at the past volume. The volume on Maxi and the Perpetuals has not been crazy. And with the launch of Pool Party, which is launching new Hex stake pools, bringing new demand, your points are all mute, honestly. They're not very good. But we can keep arguing about it. I like it. Nice. Hex down another 25%. Woo! What do you guys think? Drop your bottom call for EHEX. It's kind of hard. It's hard to predict the market right now because we've got RH tweets to factor in, and who knows if they're going to stop anytime soon. I'm guessing, I mean, we're going to have a little resistance here on the way down at 0.001, which we hit. But it looks like it's holding pretty hard here. Holding pretty well. Had a nice little bounce. I always appreciated how smart RH is. Now I'm not so sure about that. I think he's still really smart, but he's emotional too. Yes, I understand the stake pools are staked hex, but you're not committed to the stake in the same regard as native hex stakes. If anyone can sell their max at any point, then the supply demand property of time lock is useless. That's simply just not true. Again, it's like if you want a hard time lock, you can with diamond hands, or you can use time pays me. But yeah, I mean, you've got to be, in order for hex to mature and become like a worldwide asset, and a developed economy, which it can become, you got to be willing to like allow the market to grow. And it seems like you're kind of stuck in like the original narrative of hex, which is fine, but yeah, I mean, your points just aren't that great. BankX should just take what he can. What's so funny about the BankX shit that is that like everyone always advises, oh, just use limit orders. Oh, just provide LP so you don't dump the price. And now BankX has actually taken that advice, provided LP with what they were given from the Godwill, and now everyone's like pissed. It's hilarious. If BankX sold, I bet all this FUD goes away. That would honestly be awesome. That'd be so funny. Again, remember that none of us would be here without Richard Hart, or what Richard Hart built. Don't skip this one again. You are only here because of Richard Hart. Don't get conceited. I'm not conceited at all, but I mean, it's like we sacrifice for freedom of speech. I'm sharing my opinion, enjoying Richard Hart's tweets right now as he really attacks EHEX and tries to promote PHEX as the real hex. So yeah, I mean, still respect Richard Hart, like what he built. Would you agree that if you didn't see what's going on with EHEX, it's on you? Would you agree that if you didn't see what's going on with EHEX, it's on you? I mean, what was going on? Like, what do you mean by that? Because from my perspective, EHEX was doing just fine. And maybe that's why Richard Hart decided to tweet like he is. But you look at, I'm on. I got to do this whole thing again. I need to save this chart. When you look at the life of EHEX versus PHEX, it was a healthy relationship. It was doing just good. It was doing just fine. Where's this dang chart? the heck? This is so annoying. I have to go top. So let's take an honest look at how this played out. So this is EHEX priced in Hex, in PHEX. So this first drop was Richard Hart saying that the market decided, led to a $52% drop, was a like 32% drop right out of the gate. Then the market chilled out, kind of found its ground, then had a run up. EHEX almost became 1-to-1 with Hex. Then it chilled out, higher high here versus PHEX. We were down here. Now we're in a new range, just chilling, just doing fine. Then we're at about 0.6. So 0.6 EHEX for one PHEX. And then Richard Hart's tweet happened. And now we're down here. So I'm probably most annoyed with this like narrative that people are saying the market has decided. No, the market was forced. This was forced. And it's happened twice. And it honestly, it like makes me mad when people are trying to say that this was natural. It wasn't. And so it's like, you can make of that what you will. But the market had already kind of decided how it valued EHEX versus PHEX. And it was fine. Like it didn't need to be 1-to-1. It was doing just fine. And out of nowhere, Rich Hart decided to tweet that, and it destroyed the ratio for no reason. We need a just kidding Ari's tweet and all is forgiven. Yeah, that'd be hilarious. Ari's tweet and OA buys the EHEX bottom and just wrecks everyone that got footed out. When a decision in RAG's favor comes out of the SEC debacle, what will happen to EHEX? I mean, I think all RH assets will pump. I think it'll be net positive for all of them. Inc over $9. Wow, this is wild. Yeah. Rich Hart's meme coin has outperformed everything else. So maybe people are calling EHEX the new meme coin. So maybe, and honestly, I mean, the hardest dumps, like the reason why Inc is outperforming everything is because it dumped harder than everything. So if we're going to measure from the bottom, EHEX probably going to outperform everything. If the EHEX wall there, EHEX would have been higher than 1 cent. I like Maxi, but I don't think it's better than native Hex stakes. Let's just agree to disagree. I hope Hex grows. I think it'll grow to something really cool in coming years in regards to financial applications built on top. I hope you and Tonto and I'm going to keep building. That's awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, complete your decision. I could lay out why Maxi's better all day, but if you want to choose native Hex staking, I would just highly recommend don't do solo staking on Ethereum. I think where our viewpoints differ is I'm looking at the market at a macro level and you're thinking more of an individual. Absolutely not. Stake pools actually benefit the Hex ecosystem in our community more than people want to realize. With the launch of Pool Party, probably over $100 million is going to get saved on in-stake gas fees. So it's much better for people to stake in pools. If I stake LP on Pulse X, can I unstake anytime? Yes. BTC has environmental and security issues. Hex has neither, not to mention can't be digital cash or an interest yielding savings account. Yeah, Hex is definitely much more green. Imagine if the wall wasn't there, would RH have let it drop, let's say from 2 cents, 3 cents? PHEX was always being held back by that wall. Yeah, who knows? This is a forced migration effort to Pulse Chain, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree. And unfortunately, it's like at the cost of our community. Gold Key, remind the new people that it used to cost 1 cent to stake and unstake on ETH in the beginning as well. Yeah, it was much cheaper. Imagine living in a world where a founder pumps a yield dump token and the L1 lags. I think they'll all have their own day. EHEX is getting kicked in the nuts by RH. No other reason why it's dumping. Yeah. I don't really know what his goal is here, honestly. I mean, at this point, it's like, it's hilarious, honestly. It's really funny. I see those 40K trades back and forth, LOL. I have to look them out. Final shakeout, maybe. Oh, maybe, dude. Maybe. But I think I can speak for everyone. We're all tired of shakeouts. Like, we don't need any more. Whatever the opposite of a shakeout is, we need that. Let's do that. Only 3 stakes, 9 years long, can fit on a single Pulse Chain block. Hundreds of thousands of these stakes are scheduled to be ending starting 2028. Yep. I really liked your tweet earlier today, talking about how if you want Pulse Chain fees to stay cheap, you should look into Hex stake pools. Ethereum was a fine network for Hex to ride on in 2020, but now it's not. And so we should move forward with what works best. It's going to be like Zen, but clogging blocks all day, every day, and only get worse between years 9 and 15, and then continue forever. Final shakeout. If I had $1 for every time someone has said that, it's been freaking 2 years, dude. No, how many years? It's like 3 years now of final shakeouts. Like, we're tired of the shakeouts, man. We don't need any more shakeouts. Been seeing it for 3 years. Dude, seriously. We're tired of the shakeouts. RH giving the noobs a 10,000x opportunity, maybe 2019 throwback. Honestly, seriously might be. Whether it's intentional or not. But yeah, I mean, the harder it dumps. What's the top Richard from forking Pulse Chain if fees get high there? He did it once. Long states and Hex have no trust anymore. Honestly, I see so many people. It's so weird. I don't know how to explain this, but It's like we built this solution for hex in-state gas fees. And yet, when presented with the solution, people still want to be like, oh, I hope Ethereum, I think Ethereum's going to solve gas fees this next year. I'm like, dude, the solution is already here. Like, just wake up to it. It's so funny. But what I was getting to with this is that when people are asked, like, well, what if gas fees on Pulse Chain get really high again? And they say, oh, well, Richard Hart could just fork it again. And it's like, what? How's that going for our forked assets now? Like, that's a terrible solution. You can't just keep forking away the problem. It doesn't, you can't fix it. It doesn't, it's not a long-term solution. Or add to PHEX liquidity. I mixed up Hex and Pulse, but I think you get it. The Ethereum gas fee solution is to increase L1 cost to drive applications to cheap L2s. Yeah. Yeah, when you really dig into Ethereum's strategy for gas fees, it's like, it's not to benefit us, it's to make L2s attractive as possible to try to offload. I hear, bro, anyone still here deserves the mad gains. That's for sure been the longest 4 years of my life. Yeah, honestly, man. No one, if you're still here and you've been here through all this shit, you deserve the maddest of gains. 100%. That's going to be the next documentary, The Maddest of Gains. Or, yeah, something like that. Trying to spread the message about pool party. Seems many Hex influence purposely ignoring it. I mean, there's no real influencers talking about Hex anymore. So, like, the real Hex influencers are definitely talking about it, but most influencers aren't talking about it anymore. Party staking solves all the problems of Hex staking as a CD product. Yeah, I think people are gonna wake up to that. No early in-stake gas cost is fixed, doesn't depend on length. Yep. Richard can be really petty. I think he just doesn't want to pay the BankX scammer. Yeah, I mean, who knows if Richard Hart really thinks about BankX at all. I don't think about it at all. Dibcatcher has pointed out how minuscule the BankX FUD really is. I think it's really just FUD for people, for the PHEX maxis to try to FUD people out of their EHEX bags. Let's see. The crazy thing is, it always seems like RH net punching his own character. Honestly, it feels like that often. It really does. Let's see, I gotta look at something. PHEX is ripping. I'm seeing down 9%. Buying Maxi is buying Hex. The Hex that is in Maxi was bought at one time before. Yep. Thanks for the long stream. Enjoyed it. Of course. I honestly had no plans to go this long. We had to keep it going for RH. He's watching right now, so we're gonna keep we're going to keep watching his tweets as well as the OG Hex chart versus PHEX. Hex thing on ETH is like nurturing a toxic relationship when you know you shouldn't. I wonder if many people don't actually realize that. Yeah. There's many people that don't realize it. Like there's some people. I mean, like when Maxi first came out, like this was, you know, after Hedron. So Alex from Hedron kind of took on the blunt of like the Hex community and building a new product. And that was a product that like was an incentive token given to Hex stakers, and they still wanted to hate on it. You know, we launched maybe a month after and had to push through some community members, and some are still like lost in this like, I don't, we put all the FUD to bed like 2 years ago, and it's so funny to see some people like Johnny Chaos or like just random people that just, or like Crypto 7, like they just randomly out of nowhere will just like decide like, oh, today I'm gonna bring up points from 2 years ago, and then they just like, I don't know, it's just so funny, man. This community is hilarious. PX was 0.005 a few months ago. So how is what's happening now devastating? It's 0.018 now and was 0.03 less than 48 hours ago. So, I mean, yeah, if you're looking at PX, let's look. PX isn't devastating. I mean, it's not great. It's down 9%, almost 10%. Not pumping. Once again, I was right. Like, it's funny. I just saw Richard Hart tweeted. Let's see what he says. So Richard Hart is tweeting about Hart's Law while simultaneously trying to destroy eHex, which is heavily bonded to our ecosystem. Makes no sense to me. Makes no sense. Is this on YouTube? Yeah, it is. If you go to my page, you'll see the link to it. Maybe let's see. Sorry, I didn't pronounce that. Maybe the PHEX eHex farm will wait, sorry, something it moves. Maybe the PHEX eHex farm will be brought back. LOL. Yeah, that'd be great. Just another weird mix, because it's like, if you wanted to migrate, why would you incentivize a thick LP to further strengthen Hart's Law if you were going to plan to destroy it one day? Makes no sense. Found it moving over. We need Minty and the rest of Gophers to rally behind eHex. RH wants to see the community protect the prize from FUD. We are yeah, we need the Gophers exec team. Ever notice how stake pools on ETH run their own personal transactions for one Gwei? They do this when they mint a block. With all the ETH Richard has and all of us, we should fork Rocket Pool and make interactions with the Hex contract one Gwei. Whenever the Hex pool finds a block, we can jam in our data for cheap. You may need to wait a day to end your stake, but we could prioritize our TXNs first. This would cause an ETH civil war. Yeah, that's a cool idea. Minty B for the win. I love my Gophers. Minty B is awesome, man. Minty B is the MVP. Been absolutely crushing it. We need some more Ari's tweets to dump this thing. So let's invert this. So yeah, if you guys want to track how to see like hex versus hex, you can go to this chart, the hex, E-hex. I think it's the other way over. I just inverted it. You'll see it like this on pulse chain, E-hex, hex. Yeah, you'll see this, and then go to right here, rather than being priced in USD, click hex, and you'll be able to see what, oops, damn it. Damn it. Ooh, brutal. We need a name for this dip, guys. The RH dungeon. It just moved it down a tier. Like we were at this tier and we were up here, and then it just yoinked it to another tier lower. But yeah, then you can also invert it with this setting. And now we're looking at P-hex priced in E-hex. So this was the market deciding, and then RH tweet was right here. And then it moved up here. But that's mainly due to E-hex dumping. Love to see it. Honestly, extremely bullish for E-hex to have a crazy run from all-time lows this cycle. I'm a buyer at day 33 AA prices. That's awesome. Bungled tweets dip. Oh, I was like, yeah, that's for the name of that dip. Look at the E-hex TX fee since Pulse Chain. It's been tiny compared to past. It's not like there's not much value lost from fees on ETH since Pulse. Yeah, so I'm gonna go through since it's been, I literally did this at the beginning of the stream, but I want to just go through this one more time and present why I think Hex on Ethereum is worthy of our respect. We want to do well. I tweeted this out in like September of last year, and if RH would have listened, if people would have listened, it would have, a lot of what has been happening the past couple of days would have been avoided. But yeah, I mean, I explained that I don't believe in the parity narrative. I think that was dumb for anyone to say it'd be 1-to-1, because I think it set false expectations for people that these are the same asset, and they're not. They're completely separate, same code, but different life cycles. Basic points. I said all hexkins still hold EHEX and are still staked for an average stake length of 1.7 years. So if it performs well, more money in the hands of our community that can be used to buy other RH assets. And, you know, the reason why the community was so upset from RH's tweet was because it hurt them. Like the people who hold EHEX, most of them were people that bought before the dip because they were promised, they were sold on this vision of having a copy of their hex. So kind of to destroy half that value sucks, and people aren't happy about it. So that could have been avoided. EHEX is heavily bonded to PHEX, Hart's Law. If EHEX price goes down, it will pull PHEX and the rest of our ecosystem down with it. That's why it's kind of funny that RH is tweeting about Hart's Law right now when one, he incentivized an EHEX PHEX pool, and two, actively trying to destroy EHEX, destroying price, and it's pulling hex down. So PHEX down. If EHEX performs badly, if EHEX performs badly, haters will always point to it as hex, regardless of how well PHEX performs, or if we try to disregard it and claim PHEX is the only hex, which we've seen the past few days. Exactly what I said was going to happen. PHEX chart looks good, but the second EHEX chart tanks, everyone's going to point to that and be like, what the hell? Like talking shit about Hexkins, talking shit about Raise Your Heart. We want the EHEX chart to look good because that's what everyone's going to point to, unfortunately, no matter how much you want to change that. Many still point to gas fees as an inhibitor of staking Hex on Ethereum, but the gas fee problem has been solved with Maximus Trust's Hex stake pools. If you're going to stake if you're going to stake Hex on Ethereum, use stake pools. Do not solo stake anymore. Being on Ethereum, EHEX is exposed to network effects of Ethereum, as well as Ethereum whales who might not want to bridge the Pulse chain. EHEX price benefits from this, more capital injected into our economy. So when Ethereum was running the past 2 weeks, EHEX was actually doing great because it wasn't, there wasn't that much activity. And it was just basically benefiting from Hart's Law being attached to ETH, which also is funny because it was contributed to by the SAC address buying Ethereum and helping promote pump ETH. So EHEX was chilling with that. And that's exactly what I'm talking about here. It's exposed to a different network effect, which is beneficial to our ecosystem. And then this last point is just that our ecosystem is not one asset anymore. It's 5, and we have to evolve to embrace that. And then, later on, I harped on this a lot, but EHEX had the opportunity, still has the opportunity to bring a lot of TVL to Pulse Chain. So I tweeted about this when it would happen, but EHEX would pump over the, since Pulse Chain launch, EHEX had some crazy pumps, and it would be like it would drive like 50% of the value increase on the Pulse Chain bridge. So, we hit an all-time high March 7th, 180 million. Today, 148 million. So that's what, 32 million yoinked of TVL. So not smart. And yeah, honestly, my biggest takeaway from this whole stream is just leave EHEX alone. You don't need to try to attack and kill EHEX for Pulse Chain Hex to succeed, for Pulse Chain to succeed in general. Let EHEX do its own thing. You don't it was the market had already decided what kind of it thought its fair value was before it was influenced. So you see, this was the market deciding. This wasn't. This was another influence from Richard Hart's tweet. Dropped down. The market was deciding, ran up to 0.92. Sure, that didn't make some people happy when that happened, but it almost hit parity, almost hit 1-to-1. Then it dropped down again. And then this was the market deciding. It's constantly deciding. And even was consolidating around a pretty common value, which was I believe it was 0.6. So, one PHEX was worth 0.6 EHEX, which was fine until Richard Hart decided to tweet, and it tanked, which I just think was so unnecessary. But at the end of the day, guys, we're going to move past it. We've decided this is the funniest meme to come out. Probably the best thing to come out of this whole situation was this meme here with RH shortly after tweeting this stated, observing the market deciding, and it was clearly not the market deciding. So shout out to whoever made this meme. It's hilarious. I'm sure there's going to be some good memes after today's tweets. But yeah, I'm probably going to hop off pretty soon. I'll go. If you guys have any comments, questions, I'm going to do one more run through. This has been an awesome stream, though. We've got over 2,300 people watching. How does this impact the perpetual prices? Ethereum perpetuals, they earn EHEX. So, if EHEX value decreases, it definitely hurts those stakes, which is unfortunate. Thank you, Richard. I will be buying base and maxi soon. Thanks for the level-headed stream. Of course, man. Thanks for stopping by. Sorry, I didn't bring it up. I will call this the gold key dip. One could argue that this was caused by gold key stream with actions of OA selling. It's same as RH Tweet spurred public selling. Yeah, do call it the gold key dip. I'd love that that glory. But as we can see, the biggest dip was from RH's tweet. But honestly, throw me in there. That'd be awesome. Complaining about 100 million of Hex, complaining about 100 million on Hexagon's backs, about 5% of sacrifice funds and 2% of the market cap value loss of EHEX since 2 days ago. Complaining about, yeah. Leave our bags alone. Honestly, that's the hashtag. Just leave it alone, man. Honestly, and meme coin, I don't know. People are calling EHEX a meme coin now. I'm for it. Honestly, could absolutely send it. Could be hilarious. And I hope it does. Honestly, I hope it does now. Would be hilarious after all this. GG's, bro. Thanks for all you and Dipcatcher do. Thanks for stopping by, man. A bad EHEX chart really turns people away from Pulse Chain because it makes Richard look bad. Yeah. Honestly, the past couple days has not been beneficial for RH's brand at all. I still support him. I do hope he has learned from the impact that he can have, but honestly, he doesn't give a shit anymore. Like, he's going full rogue. He's now claiming Pulse Chain Hex is the real Hex, which is hilarious. RH can do polls. I would vote poll EHEX and migrate it to PHEX. I mean, RH can't. I don't know what kind of power you think RH has, but he can't. He can tweet about it. He can't kill it though. I guess he could try to. He could like if he wanted to be evil, anytime EHEX was pumping and making PHEX look bad, he could just sell his EHEX. He could sell the chart down. But as of right now, he's just tweeting. I think he wanted to move money to Pulse Chain, but it's a net loss. Should have let the market decide. Agreed. I think he should have let the market decide too. Because the market was deciding. Like, we had many, many months since RH's first tweet to this point of the market deciding. And I could speak for myself, probably for a lot of people, was never expecting EHEX to outperform PHEX, was never like hard shilling, to compete with PHEX by any means, or like this stupid narrative of like, oh, you just want exit liquidity. Nope. Like, I just wanted it to, like, it was doing just fine. And this obviously throws a wrench in it, but maybe by the dip, who knows? Like, dumping that hard, we'll see. I think it's going to be a fun bull market for EHEX. Low fees aren't that important. It's why Bitcoin Cash failed versus Bitcoin. People want to be where the biggest network is. Yeah, very true. It's the reason why people still use Ethereum mainnet and they love it. Like, I don't know. Like, just tweeting it, that's just like so much, dude. It's so much. But We'll get through this, guys. I promise. Are you saying you didn't see this Pew thing coming? P-Hex thing coming? Absolutely not. I mean, how would I have anticipated Richard Hart going full rogue and saying there's only one hex and you guys all made the wrong decision? Absolutely, like no one saw that coming. And the people that said they did are liars. They straight up were lying. This was not some like natural market progression to P-Hex. This was like Richard Hart waking up and deciding I'm gonna nuke this shit. But yeah, as much as Richard Hart wants to try, like he won't be able to kill E-Hex. Last thought, DBAR 68, you are a fool without a doubt. Good night, everyone. But Darber 48. Trying to see what they said. All right, guys. I think I'm gonna grab some dinner, but appreciate everybody stopping by. I feel like probably everybody follows me on Twitter, but if you don't, I'll just drop my Twitter. Let's see. There's my Twitter. Make sure to there you go. You beat me to it. Make sure to like and subscribe, guys. I'm going to be streaming a lot more soon. This has been really fun. Appreciate all the good questions and discussions. And if anybody wants out to stream out there sometime, no guarantees, but hit me up and we could set it up. I'm bullish on E-Hex to be able to buy at 30-day prices. I believe Team Avengers will mop the floor with SEC. RH for the win, Hex for the win, Pulse Chain for the win. Love that, guys. We're going to win no matter what. So stay positive and talk to you guys soon.